And if you're wondering, well, I don't know where to get garlic, you can talk to your local nursery, and they many times can order plants or bulbs or cloves or what have you for you that you might not think that they could, and go from that route. Or you could contact your local extension office and see if there is someone that grows it locally if you wanted to go that route also.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and put our potting soil in there, which is a very nutrient-dense potting soil. It's got wonderful ingredients that add to the overall quality of the container. We're going to put that in and mix it in real good. It looks like good soil to begin with, Mark. Wow. So here we go. We're all set. So let's go ahead and plant that baby in there.
Okay, well, we have our clove, which has been soaked, and so little tip is to take that skin off of there, and that will allow the garlic to concentrate on root development and won't have to spend any energy shedding that skin.
That makes sense.
Now we are going to plant this about 2 to 3 inches in the ground here in the upper south. If you're up north, you want to plant about 4 to 6 inches. Okay. And we're planting it in the fall, about 6 weeks before a hard freeze, which is just about the time of the fall equinox.
All right.
And we're just going to plant it with the root side down, which was where the little hard piece was.
Sure. And
that's it. We're going to top it with just a little bit of mulch. Okay. And this mulch happens to be tree bark that's and leaves that we're composting.
Right, so a little more organic material. It looks like it's full of all kinds of little healthy insects, breaking it down.
That's right.
Excellent.
And then we'll keep a consistent watering on it. That's very important to all plants, but particularly the garlic.
Well, excellent. And so getting it in now is going to make it available sooner next year.
That's right. It will start to leaf out, have a beautiful green shoots in the early spring, and then you want to harvest it in late spring, early summer.
Dirty gloves and a digging fork, which is different than a pitchfork.
Oh, it's not a pitchfork.
A digging fork has flat tines and they won't bend when you dig them into the soil.
Ah, that's right here. Okay, so where do you put the digging fork initially?
Well, you don't want to put it too close to the plant because you could pierce the bulb. So I kind of back it up maybe 4 inches or so. Okay. And the trick is you want to put the fork in pretty straight. So you're, again, trying to avoid piercing those bulbs that are under there about 4 inches. Okay. So I try to put it in straight, and then we gently lift up the bulbs.
Oh, look at that.
And there we go.
They look great.
Now you can kind of knock the major parts of the soil off while we're here in the garden. But the big cleaning doesn't come until after they're cured.
Okay, so once you've pulled it out of the soil, what do you have to do to the bulb?
You don't want to damage the skin because that's protecting it for long-term storage. So we just knock the dirt off of the roots, keep the roots intact, keep the skin intact, and now we'll hang it for 3 to 5 weeks to let it cure. And while it cures, the flavor intensifies, and we just sit and wait to enjoy our garlic after it's done.
Ooh, that's kind of making me hungry right now, thinking about that. Now that we have cleaned it, what's the next step?
Well, now we prep it for the curing process. So we hang it. I hang mine in the garage. You don't want a place that's too hot or definitely not near freezing. And you can hang them in bundles of up to 20. I use a simple slip knot here, so as the garlic dries and gets smaller, it'll continue to tighten as it hangs. You hang it in that space with good ventilation with up to 20 bulbs for 3 to 5 weeks, and then you'll note that the leaves and the stems will become crackly and very dry, and that's when it's done.
That's great.
Ready to eat.
Yeah, and I guess you have to make sure that you label it if you have several different varieties growing so that you remember.
Good point, Brandon. You do want to label it. Right. And I would say that this is a good opportunity to look over all the bulbs, make sure that there's no damage, that you don't see any mold, because of course you wouldn't want to include those in the bunch because they could infect the others. Okay, our garlic's been sitting For 3 to 5 weeks, it's dry and cure. The leaves are papery, crunchy, and when you cut it, you'll see there's no green on the inside anymore. So it's ready to be eaten. So we do our final cleanup, which means cut it from the stem. You can see I still leave about 1.5 inches or so on top. And then I also cut off the roots, leaving about 1/4 inch from the bulb. You definitely don't want to cut into the bulb, as it can leave it open for infection. And there's some dirt on the outside. We just take off 1 layer of the skin, because the more skin it has, the longer it'll store. And voila! Better than grocery store.